everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is LaShawn Simplest Barnes. Feel free to call me Lee, and I am the Director of Admissions here at Tulane University Celia Scott Weatherhead School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. With me, I have with us Dr. Isabella Parise, and she is going to provide the presentation about applied practice experience, also known as APE. Dr. Parise is a Tulane alum as well as Assistant Director for Public Health Practice here at Tulane University Celia Scott Weatherhead School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. Thank you for being here, Dr. Parise. Take it away.
Hi, y'all. My name is Dr. Isabella Parise. I'm so excited to be chatting with you all today on the applied practice experience. I also want to say that I've got a unique appreciation of what it's like to be in your shoes. I'm a proud alumna of the MPH program myself, so fully understand what it's like to go through an applied practice experience, and over the moon that I get to chat with you all about it today. And so we'll go ahead and start the presentation now. My role at the institution is to support students getting out of the classroom and into real life public health practice experiences. I also have a unique appreciation of what it's like to be in your shoes. I'm a proud graduate of the MPH program myself, so have done a practicum, so fully understand what this process feels like from the student perspective. So really excited to chat with you all about it today. And so we will jump into our presentations. I do have a dedicated portion for questions, so if you've got questions, don't worry, we will have time to address them. Okay, so just so you know kind of what we're doing today, what we're going to be talking about, the roadmap or agenda, if you will. So we'll be talking about the applied practice experience, which the shorthand of that is the APE. We're going to talk about the purpose of it, why we do it, some of the roles and responsibilities, so who's kind of involved in that process. We'll chat about like, what are you getting out of the practicum? You know, what are some of those deliverables that you're going to be working on, or those experiences that you're going to be having? We'll watch a short video on a student experience of the applied practice experience, and then we'll talk about some like additional training opportunities to gain those public health experiences. So you've heard me mention this term APE. So what is the APE? It is known as the applied practice experience. It's where we really apply those skills that you're learning in the classroom into a real life public health setting. The goal is to get that hands-on public health experience. We know it's really wonderful that you're training and learning in the classroom, but we want you to get that exposure in the community. This experience is required for all students who are getting the Master of Public Health degree, the Master of Science in Public Health degree, and the Master of Public Health in Tropical Medicine. It also is required for those that have prior work experience. The only group of master's students that it's not required for are folks who are getting the Master of Science degree, so the MS degree. We allow practicums to be done in a large variety of settings. So really the goal is to get you out of the university and into the field. This is a really good opportunity to test some of the things that you're interested in, or some of the organizations that you'd like to be working with upon graduation, without kind of committing like a full-time job to it. And so this is the opportunity to really get exposure to those areas. We don't place students in practicum, so I don't say that, you have to go work with the health department. We really let you all lead the practicum experience very autonomously, so that it's really a good fit for your career goals and what you're seeking out of your future as a public health professional. We will, allow a variety of sites. So if you have kind of a non-traditional or out-of-the-box idea, we're certainly willing to discuss it with you, work with you on it, and see how we can make that happen for you. And we'll talk a bit about like where some sites are that students have gone in the past, and discuss that as we move forward. But really the goal is to get that hands-on real life public health experience. So really the purpose of the APE is to get that exposure. It should demonstrate all your competencies of your specific degree and program of which you're getting. All of you have applied to specific programs within the School of Public Health, whether it's biostats, epidemiology, social behavioral population sciences, international health, tropical medicine, health policy, and so forth. This is your time to gain that experience in those public health areas. So each program here has a set of competencies associated with that program. I always tell students to look at those competencies as Tulane's promise to you. So by the time that you graduate with your degree in, let's say, epidemiology, you'll have these sets of skills ranging from doing metrics or data evaluation to writing reports. And the practicum is the time that you're really getting to practice those opportunities, that you're getting exposure to those opportunities with actual people that are working in the public health workforce. This is the time that we are helping you kind of build those skills and build on what you've learned in the classroom, but in a real life setting. Every practicum will have a clear audience or stakeholder that's benefiting from the work that you're doing. So all practicums would be in like a real life public health setting. We're not just simulating something here. You are actually working with a community of your choosing. And that can be anywhere. So we don't limit them geographically just because School of Public Health is physically based here in New Orleans, Louisiana. We certainly don't require that you stay here in New Orleans or do an opportunity in Louisiana. We have students that have gone all across the globe for practicum opportunities. And so we really are open to your ideas where you want to be geographically, what population you want to be working with, and what are the public health issues that you're most passionate and care very deeply about. Really, what we're most focused on for the practicum is that it's supervised and evaluated by someone who's qualified to support you in that work. Really, the goal of this is that you're able to learn from a preceptor. That would be someone at that organization that's here to really support the work that you're doing and an expert in that work or have been working in public health for a number of years. The goal is to really be learning along with them and from them because they'll be helping guide that experience. They'll be the person that you'll be reporting to on a daily basis, that you'll be asking your questions to, and that's ultimately employed at that organization that you're working with. They'll be the person that's kind of you're learning most alongside this journey with. And then, of course, you'll be working with your faculty advisor. So every student upon admission into the institution will receive a faculty advisor. That's someone that's a subject matter expert in the degree in which you're seeking and the concentration. And so they're going to be a great resource to ensure that your practicum is a good fit, that you're really going to be addressing those competencies of your program. And they also might be able to leverage some of their connections oftentimes. So Tulane does a phenomenal job of having a group of faculty with a wide experience in public health. So many of our faculty members are working in communities, working with community organizations, and doing work in public health in the community, whether it be here in New Orleans or anywhere else across the globe. We have a very internationally based body of faculty as well. And so they're going to be the person that may also help bring opportunities to you. They may help connect you with different sites. They may introduce you to different volunteer opportunities that could then build into a practicum. And so they're going to really be someone that you're going to lean on throughout your whole time at Tulane, but especially during the practicum as well. And so they're really going to be guiding that experience for you too, so that you can feel supported not only by the site who's external to Tulane, but also internally from Tulane. All right, so this question comes up with a degree of frequency of where could you possibly go for a practicum or a possible APE? So we allow both domestic and international practice settings. So as mentioned earlier, you are not required to stay in the United States. If you prefer to do your practicum with a US-based organization, that's absolutely fine. If you're looking into international organizations, that's fine as well. We will work with you on that process. Of course, all practicums need to be approved, but we will help you build the steps to get to that approval. And there's many different sites that you can work with. Some examples would be like governmental agencies. So think like CDC or your local health department. You can work with non-governmental agencies. So think like American Red Cross, which is kind of like a quasi-governmental agency. You can work with nonprofit settings. That could be like the American Diabetes Association, the American Cancer Association. It could be like Planned Parenthood. So anyone that kind of fits into that nonprofit bucket. We also allow industrial settings. So think of things like pharmaceutical companies, or sites like Folgers Coffee, for example. You know, if you're doing kind of like a worksite wellness plan or something with them. And then also for-profit settings. So think like, Amazon warehouses, maybe doing safety trainings or something like that. So really, you're not restricted as to where you want to go for the practicum, as long as there's someone at the site that is doing public health work that is qualified to support and supervise and guide the work that you're doing. We're really expansive as to what we'll allow. We're really willing to work with you on what your interests are. And in addition, I will say we've had someone go to the local dog shelter and do evacuation planning for dogs. So what do we do in hurricanes when they hit, and what do we do with dogs that are at those shelters? How do we safely evacuate them? We've also had folks go to like the local aquarium here and do water testing quality. And so we're very open to especially out of the box ideas. What I'll say is, bring your imagination to this opportunity. This opportunity is really yours to practice your skills in public health, but then also really be thinking about what your future employment in public health looks like. You may learn that this practice setting is something that you're really interested in and want to explore farther upon graduation. Or you might learn that you want to pivot to a different population or a different practice setting. All of that is really valuable information to gain while you're still a student. And so think about this opportunity as an opportunity to practice skills, but not only that, but to grow as an individual and public health professional. That's the goal. The goal is that it's very autonomous and rooted in your growth. And so here's some examples of where we've sent students in the past. I will say we have thousands of previous practicum sites. This is simply what would just fit on a slide. But so we've had students go to the New York Department of Health, which I know we had someone on the call from Bronx, New York. So pretty exciting there. We've certainly sent students to the Pan American Health Organization before. We've had plenty of students work with CDC. We've had students work with Crescent Care, which is a local nonprofit here that navigates STIs and STDs. We've had folks work with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, located in Rome. We've had folks work with local nonprofits. We've had folks work with very large nonprofits like Planned Parenthood. We've had folks work in biomedical research and so forth. We've had folks go to like disaster management and planning organizations. Folks work with unhoused populations. So really, like I said, there's a pretty wide breadth of places that you could possibly go. There's not a list that we bound you to or limit you to. It's very expansive based on what your desires are in public health and the geographical area that you're planning on doing a practicum for. So like I said, you're not limited to Louisiana or even to New Orleans. Truly, the world is your oyster, and you're able to look at sites that really fit your needs. So for example, if you're attending classes here residentially, but you want to return back to your home for summer, you can absolutely do a practicum back wherever home may be. If you're looking to go abroad, you can certainly look into abroad options. So really not a major boundary on that. We're here to really help make your imagination possible. And so if you have some ideas, definitely bring those to us and we'll see what we can do to make that happen and come to light. And so each practicum, really the goal of the practicum is to gain experience, but then also develop work products. So in the practicum, you're going to be spending time with that site, but as a result of your time at that organization, you're going to be developing products for those sites. And that can range based on a variety of what the needs are at those sites. So you might be working on like a program plan for a site, or as I previously mentioned, that evacuation plan for dogs, right? Or maybe an evacuation plan for people if you're working, with FEMA or something. You might be working on health education curriculum. You might be working on a needs assessment for that site. You might be helping put together a grant proposal. You might be doing a training manual or a lesson plan. You could certainly put together surveys, especially for my folks in epidemiology or biostats. You very well might be putting together some surveys. For my health policy folks, you might be doing some policy briefs or some white pages. You might be putting together educational videos. You might be doing podcast presentations, various spreadsheets, especially for my epi folks that are doing data cleaning. You might be building a website out for people to help with health navigation. And of course, you might take an actual photo of the work that you're doing. If you're leading a training or something, you can take a picture of you doing that training and talk to us about what you did for that training, how you applied it to folks in that community, what was going on with that training and your contributions. And so really, you're not limited to this list at all. This is just an example of some possible work products. And so very similar to the sites, how you're not limited to the sites on that slide or even a sites on a list of paper or an Excel sheet. These are just some ideas on what you could possibly be spending your time developing throughout your practicum. And so really, you don't need to have an idea on what you're planning on targeting as far as a work product for your practicum until you're really in that experience. And largely your preceptor, who's that person at the site qualified to support and supervise you, will be really helping guide the development of those work products. It would be based on what the organization needs, what they're seeking from you, priorities at the organization. And they're really going to be the person that's going to help determine what it is you're planning to work on. And so don't worry if you don't have a clear vision. Even when you kind of start out that practicum, you'll navigate that and negotiate that with your preceptor. That will become clear based on conversations that you'll have with them. And also, it's okay if they shift over time. We know priorities change. Maybe you're working with a local health department and they unexpectedly get a new grant that they really need support on. It's okay if you're shifting some of those interests over time. And so, no worries at all. Just to note, though, something that we don't consider an appropriate work product for your practicum would be like your reflection paper, which would be you talking about the AP experience from your perspective, your hour log. We also don't allow scholarly papers and like poster presentations for conferences. So the reason for those, for scholarly papers and poster presentations not being allowed, is because we need all work products to have real-time community benefit. We know that peer-reviewed journal articles and poster presentations at conferences are largely for a scholarly benefit. The general public doesn't have access to those expensive journal articles, or maybe access to that presentation that you might be giving at a national conference. That's not largely for community benefit. And so really what we ask people and require them to focus on for the practicum is work products that are largely for the community's benefit that you're serving. And of course, the community would be determined based on the organization that you're working with. And so that's just something to note when you're kind of thinking about what are the possible things that you can work on. It's just be thinking about the community that you're serving and the community that you're working with. That your time in the practicum should be directly benefiting those folks. All right, so I'm going to do a quick flip on this. We're going to watch a video of a student who's currently a second year epidemiology student in our MPH program. They're going to share their practicum experience with all of us. Okay, so let me know if you all can hear it. I'm about to play it.
Name is Chalare Makeni. I'm a Fulbright scholar from Togo, and I'm currently pursuing my second year of Master of Public Health in our school, the Celia High School of Public Health. My AP site name is the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene in the New York City. It's typically called AP Scholar. Like the short name is AP Scholar. You type on Google, it's AP Scholar. Why did I choose this program? Is because of the reputation of the department for its excellence in scientific research. The project on which I worked on my APA is to evaluate the mental health and needs of asylum seekers in New York City. because New York City is a major city in which we currently have in 2025 200,000 asylum seekers arriving from all states and principally from the Mexico border. So this population face a lot of trauma and persecution coming from those states outside the US. So when they arrive in New York City, they are a lot of in need of mental support, emotional support, healthcare access, insurance, and let's say housing like basic needs. So the city have to handle these populations. So that's why they developed this project to kind of see inside the data how it will look like in the trend of these the characteristic of this population. Let's say their demographic, where they are coming from, what are their needs, and what kind of trauma they faced before arriving in New York City. So my main takeaway for this APE is that it reinforced my passion for research and public health to address the health disparities of vulnerable populations.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for the presentation again. Perfect. Can everyone see the slide deck? Okay. All right, so we just heard from a student about their experience in the APE. And so really, that is a great example of a student seeking an opportunity, certainly outside of New Orleans, that was in line with their goals and their passions. And so it's a great example of how you're not limited to the boundaries of Louisiana or the connections directly from Tulane, that you're able to explore things that you're interested in. And so, be considering that when you're thinking about this possible practicum opportunity and what you're going to do with it. And so there's a lot of resources to help prepare you for the APE. We don't expect that you're ready from day one when you come to the institution. We actually hope that you spend some time in your classes and getting to learn some about public health and where your areas of interest lie in public health. So we, of course, require folks get a foundation of public health education before thinking about the practicum. So it's not something that you would do your first semester here. You'd wait a few semesters to get a better idea on what you want to be doing or what you have an interest in, and then you'd apply what you've learned in the classroom into the practice setting. So some resources to prepare you for the APE, of course, is the Office of Public Health Practice. So that's the office that I'm a part of. We run trainings for the APE. We'll support you in looking for a practicum. So if you're looking for ideas or you're wanting to generate some ideas on where you could possibly go or where you could possibly explore, I'll be here to help you with that. If you're looking at previous sites and want to see where students have gone in the past, we certainly have that information available for folks. So you can look to see, well, where have students gone and where could I possibly go? Again, you're not bound to that list, but just to be thinking about that. And then I'm here to help prepare you to get ready to go into the community. So if that looks like, brushing up on any communication skills that you might need, any type of professional preparation for folks that might be going into hospital settings, if you need HIPAA training or those types of things, I'll be here to connect you with those resources to make sure that you feel prepared to enter the community. Also, so here we have career services. So at the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine, we have career services. Career services is really a great resource because they are only here at the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine for you all. So we have a dedicated team of experts in the public health workforce that work with you all on an individual basis to support you with mock interviews, developing resumes, putting together cover letters, and they also run a series of trainings. And so those trainings are opt-in. And so it's something that you can take a part of during your time here at Tulane, and they offer them in multimodality. So whether you're here on campus with us in New Orleans or in the cloud somewhere else, you have access to a lot of different trainings to help prepare you to enter the field. And in addition, if you get an interview, Something that's a really big benefit for career services is you can schedule a mock interview with them. You can send them a copy of the practicum description, and they'll schedule a time to do a mock interview with you. And they'll review that description and ask you questions based on that description so you feel really prepared to go into that interview. Something else is it's good to start building those relationships with the folks in career services now, because you do have access to those services for about a year or so up to when you graduate. So even once you graduate, you can still reach out to career services and ask for help applying for jobs, resume building, if you're looking to pivot or anything like that. And so good to start thinking about working with career services right when you get to the university. If you want to convert your resume to a CV or your CV to a resume, they will certainly help you do that. And like I said, they're located here at the School of Public Health, but you also have access to them in the cloud. And then we have the Office of Academic Excellence and Opportunity. Those are folks that are absolutely wonderful. They are experts in working with the community. They will provide trainings on how to work thoughtfully with communities and intentionally with communities. And they'll also help seek out additional opportunities to provide excellence to the work that you are doing. So really, really good group of folks that put on great trainings, provide phenomenal support to students that you'll have access to, again, both here residentially and then also in the cloud remotely. As mentioned previously, everyone will have a faculty advisor. That's someone that's a subject matter expert in the degree in which you're getting in public health. And so really good to start building that relationship initially when you come to the university, again, whether it's physically or not, with your advisor. They're the person that's been working in public health for a very, very long time. And so they're going to be the person that can connect you with opportunities, might be able to suggest possible placements for practicum, might share volunteer opportunities your way. And so they're really going to be someone that's going to be moving with you throughout this entire process of your degree. But I also want to encourage students, even though you have an assigned faculty advisor, that doesn't mean that you're limited to that advisor. You can certainly chat with other faculty members. Here at the School of Public Health, we have actually one of the largest faculty bodies in all of Tulane. And so that's really to our benefit. There are so many subject matter experts in public health here that are working in both Louisiana, but also across the nation and abroad. And so really utilize the faculty members that we have here at the institution. Don't be afraid to reach out to people or build relationships with them. People are very, very inherently friendly here in New Orleans, and faculty are no different. They really love conversing with students. They love sharing their knowledge. They love sharing their connections. Even if it's not your advisor, feel free to build a relationship with that person. They're going to be someone that's really possible to lean on for you and to gain inspiration from. The other thing I'll mention is the WSPH alumni. So we are the oldest school of public health in the country, which by default means we have one of the largest alumni bodies in the country. Tulane alumni, especially from the School of Public Health, are very, very visible in the public health world and in communities. We have a pretty robust reach across the globe just based on the breadth of work of our alumni. And so don't be afraid to utilize our alumni networks. We have dedicated LinkedIn pages for them where you can reach out and connect to alumni and see what they're up to. Reach out to them via email or even over the phone if you're comfortable. Have like networking calls or coffee chats with them to see what their experience has been like in public health and see if you're interested in following a similar path that they did. Tulane alumni really love to pay it forward to other Tulane students. So don't be afraid to reach out. Those emails or messages are almost always met with a lot of warmth. And so if you see an alumni that's working at an organization you want to be at, reach out to that person. Or also, if you're looking for alumni connections at an organization that you have an interest in working with, reach out to us, either in Office of Public Health Practice, Career Services, or Alumni Affairs, and we can see what we can do to get you directly connected with that person and make a warm introduction for you. The other folks that I'll mention are the Goldman Center for Student Accessibility. If you receive accommodations or are getting accommodations, reach out to them and we can ensure that those accommodations can be met within your practicum setting. And so we're here to absolutely support that journey for you, whatever that may look like. And for my folks who are here on visas, we also will collaborate very heavily with the Office of International Students and Scholars. So if you're here on a visa, I'll be working hand in hand with the Office of International Students and Scholars to make sure that everything related to your practicum is going really smoothly. And so if you are here on a visa and you want to return maybe to your home country for the summer to do your practicum, we'll work hand in hand with them to make sure that you're supported throughout that process and that everything is going really well. All right. So that is my overview of the practicum. What questions do people have?
Thank you so much, Dr. Parise. That was so thorough and interesting. I hope the students got so much out of it, as much as I did. I always love attending your presentations. So if you would like to ask a question, feel free to either push your questions right into the chat, or you can use the raise hand function and we will call on you.
Awesome. I see a question in the chat. So this is a great question. I'll read it out loud for folks. So when does one usually complete their APE? So that's a really good question. So when does someone complete their APE? It really kind of depends. So this is kind of an interesting answer because we're not on a cohort model here at Tulane. You take classes kind of as you see fit, and you follow a curriculum or course plan of study. And so really what we're seeking out of the practicum is that you're not going into the practicum too unexperienced. And by what we mean by that is we want you to have a foundational set of coursework under your belt that prepares you to go into that practicum. So for example, if you're doing program evaluation for your practicum, you will want to have taken your monitoring and evaluation course, so you know how to do program evaluation. And that looks a little differently for everyone because everyone's on a different plan of study. But I would say the most common times that students are really doing their practicums are between their summer semester and between their first year and second year, if you're attending school here full time, or kind of that fall or last spring semester, so within your second year. And so it really kind of depends also on the site. I always say this, and you'll hear me say this to students, the academic calendar and the business calendar don't always align. So some organizations may only run summer opportunities or may only run opportunities in the fall. And so we'll work with you on an individual basis to see when it's best to plan for your practicum. Really what we want to make sure is that you have that foundational set of knowledge and that you are ready to support the work and build upon the work that you're doing in the classroom in that public health setting. And so typically the summer of between your first and second year, but you're not beholden to that. So don't feel like that's your only option. You can do a practicum within your second year of your coursework as well. So that's a really great question.
Thank you. A follow-up question. How long do people usually spend on their APE?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really we require 120 hours for your APE. And so that can break down over 1 or 2 semesters. And so I would say people typically spend at least a semester on their practicum. Some people can spend up to 2. Also, what I'll say is sometimes it's site dependent. Some sites say, we have a larger program going on that we need support for. This practicum spans 2 semesters. Or sometimes sites say we have a shorter project and a higher need that we need a higher concentration of hours just within the summer months. And so it really depends. What I'll say too is we have university requirements on the amount of hours that you'll need for your practicum. But you certainly can be paid for your practicum or get a stipend for the work that you're doing from that organization. But do keep in mind, sometimes the terms of a stipend or payment differ from the university. So for example, you might be able to get a stipend for your practicum or paid for your practicum, but that site may ask 200 hours of your time, even though that's different from our university requirement. So just keep in mind that, timelines really vary based on site and based on needs of the site. But I would say typically a semester or two. It's pretty rare that people span to a third semester. So really good question.
Awesome. Next question. I start my first year lessons in the summer semesters, June and July. Am I qualified to start my APE in August?
That's a good question. So I would say maybe not yet. So what it would really depend on is, again, how many courses are you taking in summer? Are you kind of completing that foundational curriculum? Where do your credit hours lie? What are you seeking to do in your practicum? I would say maybe by spring of 27 would be more appropriate for your start. But it all kind of depends. And what I'll say is all of that can be discussed. So if you have a specific question or want to share the courses that you're registered for with me, I'll share my email at the end. You're more than welcome to reach out and we can absolutely have a conversation about that. And then also start planning for what those coming months might look like for your practicum.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have dropped Dr. Parise's email into the chat, so
Awesome. And if someone prefers to not type their question, you're welcome to either raise your hand or unmute.
yeah, feel free.
And I can share a common question too. So sometimes we have folks that are already working in public health settings that are wondering if they can do a practicum at their work site. So maybe you're already working in public health and you're really passionate about that area and you'd like to stick with them for your practicum. So that's certainly possible. If you'd like to do a practicum at your workplace, we call that a workplace practicum. What we would ask you to do is identify a project above and beyond your typical job duties. So let's say, I'll give an example here. Let's say I'm a health educator for a sexual and reproductive health organization, and my daily work is going into classrooms and delivering curriculum for students. So that's my daily job. But if I wanted to do my practicum at that organization, something that would be above and beyond my job duty would maybe be to evaluate that curriculum to see where it falls as far as the national standard. Are we teaching in line with the national standards? Is it cultural? Is it culturally competent? Is it relevant for the group of folks that we're teaching? To do like a bigger curriculum appraisal or curriculum development. And so if you are working in a public health setting, certainly chat with me and we'll see if we can develop an opportunity together that would make sense for you to work with the folks that you are already working with. And so that's certainly possible.
Thank you. Next question, how about students who are yet to resume studies due to visa restrictions? Can the International Student Services help? I'm going to go ahead and answer that if you don't mind. And so it depends on your visa restrictions and it depends on if you are actually going to be able to come to the school in person if you are a residential student. As Dr. Parisi stated, you can do your APE as an online student, but if you are supposed to be a residential student and you're having issues with your visa, yes, you can reach out to the Office of International Student Services and they will be able to help you with that. You can also reach out to our office, our admissions office. I'm going to drop our catch-all email into chat box so you can have that. But ideally, students do not start their practicum, their APE, until they are a student here in person and, like Dr. Parisi stated, have actually started their program. So you don't start it before. I hope that helps. And you are welcome. You're quite welcome. Any other
Once you're
questions?
here on campus, we're here to help with that too.
Yeah,
So yeah, we're here to help strategize. We're here to help navigate that. So you're certainly not alone in that process.
absolutely. Another question. Do you have any advice for how to narrow down an area of interest for the APE? I feel like I really enjoy most of the topics I learn about in public health and don't have a very specific vision for what I want to focus on. You sound like a public health practitioner, Liliana, but I will let Dr. Parisi answer this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because I think inherently public health practitioners have so many interests in public health. It's hard to find one public health practitioner that has a very narrow vision on what they do in public health or narrow population that they want to work with. And so this is a really great question because I think that this is the benefit of your time here at the university. I would suggest volunteering a lot if possible, even if it's just like a few hours here and there every so often. Get exposure to a lot of different organizations. That can be a really, really helpful tool to decide what population you want to work with. And so that's the good part about not doing a practicum right away, right? Is you have time to really be here in the coursework, develop those connections, whether it's here or in the cloud, lean on your faculty, get exposure to the organizations that they're involved in, and really spend some time with those organizations. Also, what I'll say, you may learn from your practicum that this might not be the most interesting practice setting for you, that you may not want to commit your full-time job to that setting. And so that's a really helpful tool to learn before you're kind of out into the employment world. And so what I would say again is just volunteer and make connections. People are really warm and friendly. And I guess my takeaway advice on that is say yes to a lot of random opportunities. You never know where it's going to lead you. Some practicums certainly are found very formally, like New York Epi Scholars is a very formal practicum opportunity where there's a very large application process attached to that. But there's a really large portion of practicums that are found informally, just by happenstance, of people that have either been exposed to that organization or heard about it, maybe on Instagram or something, that just reached out and connected with someone or maybe spent some time volunteering that turned into an actual practicum opportunity. So I would say don't be afraid to say yes to a lot of random things during your time here getting your degree.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? These are some great questions. Keep them coming. That is why we are here. All right, I'll give it one more minute just to make sure that no one else has any additional questions. This has been so great. Thank you, Dr. Parisi, for being here.
Of course.
Any additional questions?
I'll say, don't worry if you don't think of your question now. I'll post my email is right here for you all. And so feel free to reach out and connect with me. I know that this is a lot of information, especially for folks that are just about to start the program. No worries if you're not sure kind of where you want to land for the practicum or where you think the direction is that you want to head in. Reach out to me. I love connecting with students. I love talking about the practicum experience. I love conversations that get folks kind of out of the classroom and into the field. And so anything that I can do to support you on that journey, let me know. I'm here in your back pocket.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate there's so many of you that took time out of your day today to be here and to join in on this awesome presentation. Feel free, like Dr. Perzi said, she wants to connect with you. She loves it. She's so great at what she does as well. So feel free to do so. Thank you all, and I hope you have a great morning, noon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Take care.
Thank y'all so much for joining.
Yep, thank you for joining, everyone. Bye.